Welcome to the Configure Price Quote podcast. My name is Frank Sohn and I'm the founder of No CPQ Consulting. This podcast is 100% focused on Configure Price Quote, also known as CPQ, and will provide you useful insights into this topic. My guest today is Pascal Yammine, the newly appointed CEO of Zilliant. Pascal was previously the general manager and senior vice president of Salesforce Revenue Cloud before he joined Zilliant in August, and he is based in Chicago. Pascal was on the CPQ podcast before, and I'm very excited to welcome him back today in his new role. Pascal, welcome back to the CPQ podcast.
Thank you, Frank. It's great to be here.
Very excited to have you. So the first question I have to ask is obviously, what made you move from Salesforce to Zilliant?
It's a great question. A question, as you can imagine, a lot of people have been asking. First of all, I just make sure it's clear. I was at Salesforce for 13 years. Salesforce is an amazing company to work with and work for. It's just been a tremendous opportunity for me in terms of my career and my personal and professional development. I owe a lot of my success, and I owe a lot of who I am. The Salesforce deserves a lot of the credit. As you know, at Salesforce for the last 5 years, I was the general manager of what became Revenue Cloud, and we as a part of that team, we developed an amazing team across the board. The product, the engineering, the success, the entire team is just a rock star team. And we've had tremendous growth and success. We've seen Salesforce redefine CPQ in a way that many people never thought was possible, and it's a great accomplishment. For me, in my own personal career, what I was looking for was an opportunity to find another gem, if you will, another opportunity to find a company who has an amazingly strong foundation that I could also, similar to Salesforce, scale. You may recall once, maybe many years ago, Frank, when you and I first talked about the context of democratizing CPQ. That was a big focus that Brian and I talked about. I think that's an opportunity for us to redo and to restate that kind of that intention within pricing and then revenue operations. And so there's a real opportunity there. And for me, leaving Salesforce was less around wanting to leave Salesforce and more around seeing an opportunity with Zilliant that was very unique. An amazing company that's been around for 20 some years, but across those 20 some years has redefined itself multiple times, including, redefining itself into the cloud and including redefining itself to be more than just a pricing product, but actually expanding its footprint to be able to help customers drive revenue growth and profitability across multiple tools. And, with the great leadership team that existed. Greg Peters is a close personal friend, and he's just done an amazing job leading the company for the past 20 years. And there was just a unique opportunity with Zilliant to say, this is a company that has the foundation in place that allow me to take it and to scale it, to take it and for lack of better words, democratize it, just like we did CPQ. Because I could see every customer that Salesforce has ever had could get so much value out of using Zilliant. And as far as I'm concerned, we need to make Zilliant relevant to everybody because it has such a tremendous amount of value. And I'm excited to join the team that Zilliant has to be able to do that together.
Excellent. And I'm really excited, I guess, with a bunch of other people to see where you lead them. One thing I wanted to ask also, I think Zilliant got investment from a private equity firm, Madison Dearborn Partners, if I'm not mistaken. How are you going to work with them?
That's right. Madison Dearborn, they closed on the acquisition of Zilliant last December, so a little less than a year ago. Madison Dearborn is out of Chicago, which is where I'm at. So I'm a little bit biased in a positive way towards them. Madison Dearborn is made this investment as a growth investment. They see what I saw, which is a foundation of a company that has done very well and has had a tremendous amount of success, but a company that with a little bit of focus, a little bit of scale, can exponentially grow. So they have a very strong point of view that I share with regards to the growth opportunity. What's really fascinating is when you think about what Zilliant does. Zilliant, at the end of it, the core of what we do is we help our customers create value. Value, in the most simplistic terms, is really two things: growing revenue or increasing profitability. So top line or bottom line. Those are the two ways we can create value for companies. And that's what private equity firms are looking for. So just like Madison Dearborn, what I'm finding as a part of the Zilliant team now is that many private equity firms have reached out because they want our help in helping their portfolio companies create value. And Zilliant is well poised to be able to do that.
Excellent. And then one question I have to ask as well, and I guess you expected that anyway, was how will you work with Salesforce as a partner going forward now?
Well, Salesforce is always a great partner. Obviously, I have been there for a long time. I have a lot of really strong personal relationships, professional relationships. And at the end of the day, Salesforce will continue to be a very good partner of ours. Most of our customers, in order to leverage the Zilliant tools, have really two main primary areas of connectivity. One is in order to leverage the data, in order to leverage the intelligence and the sophistication of the Zilliant platform for price optimization and revenue optimization, we depend on data from the ERP, transactional data. More often than not, that comes from the ERP. On the other side, most of our customers will take that data and use it to drive their go-to-market priorities, to drive their revenue growth opportunities, and that's where Salesforce comes in. So there's a really good opportunity to partner for Salesforce as the user experience for most of our customers, while at the same time leveraging and partnering with the back office ERP systems like SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, et cetera, because that is where most of the transactional data sits.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And then on a more personal note, so to change from a large company to a small company or a smaller company is kind of a big step. How is that for you personally so far? How have you adjusted to different companies?
Well, I think it'd be unfair to say that I've adjusted. I am still in the adjustment period for sure, and I may be for some time. On the one hand, it's great. You have a small company, a very nimble, very agile, very hungry company. Making changes at Zilliant is much, much easier. It can be done much faster, and it can be done with a lot less participation from committees and committees of people when you have 80,000 people as Salesforce had. On the other hand, of course, there's a lot of benefit of having a large organization like Salesforce to lean on, where they have the relationships across the world, across the industry. So certainly there's some areas that I'm finding to be very pleasant in terms of the ability to make changes and to be agile and to make changes fast. While at the same time, you definitely lose the opportunity to benefit from the large global presence Salesforce has, and that's something that we're working on together.
Got it. So since you have been on a couple of times, Pascal, so I wanted to ask a different question for you, right? Not what do you do in your spare time and stuff like that. So I thought about what are people generally surprised to find out about you? Is there anything that you want to share?
About me?
Yes.
Well, that's a loaded question, Frank. I think that it's people who have seen me throughout my career have realized that I've had a lot of different kinds of jobs, right? So starting with consulting, going into a small telco where I was CIO, to starting my own software company, to spending many years in customer success, to being a GM. And so I think some people have always positioned me as I'm this type of a person or that type of person. I think the surprise is, when you look across my career, I've played a lot of roles. Not all. I've not done well in every role. Some roles I've done better than others. But I think it's really my, that is more tied to my personality of curiosity and always trying to learn. So I've always enjoyed being put in a position where I've never had success, or I've never had an opportunity to do anything, and really taking advantage of that position to learn and adjust and to grow as a personal person. And so for me, throwing myself into these situations is actually enjoyable. And I think sometimes people may think of that as odd, or maybe as a little bit of self-torture, but that would be one thing I would say. And again, my past career and the different types of roles I've had may be a good way to help illustrate that.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing that. And I think that's maybe a good idea also for others, right? So to explore different positions throughout the career. Anyway, let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about Zilliant, right? So for anyone who's not familiar with Zilliant, what should they know about the Zilliant offering?
Well, Zilliant has a great reputation, and they've, as a relatively small company, they've done well, and they've been well represented by analysts, for example. Zilliant really powers intelligent commerce for B2B companies. And I say B2B companies, but we have B2C companies using us as well. So I just want to clear, we have the opportunity to use Zilliant for many places. Historically, originally, Zilliant has delivered on that intelligent commerce mostly with a focus on price optimization, as many people know. But in the last several years, Zilliant has expanded to say, how can we bring intelligence across commerce more than just pricing? Ultimately, our goal at Zilliant is to help our customers increase their profitability and increase their revenue. And in order to do that, pricing is quite commonly the first tool that we've used to do that. Use pricing in an intelligent way to drive profitable growth. But subsequently, we have expanded our ability to be able to also take the same AI engines, the same Z Cloud, the platform that we've built and has performed so well, and actually apply it in different ways. So, for example, our Sales IQ allows us to really deliver on the promise of what many people call revenue operations and revenue intelligence. But this capability is really about identifying opportunities to grow revenue using AI and actually creating revenue strategies and revenue scenarios that not only are there to look at, but actually have the entire follow through. So we can create them, we can publish them to the sales organization, whether that be the direct sales organization or partners or even through commerce. And then we have the closed loop capabilities where we can track the impact of those programs. So we can tell our customers very clearly and very specifically how much revenue growth we've impacted, how much profitability we've built into their margins. And that really is what we mean by intelligent commerce.
Excellent. And you focus on specific regions and industries?
I think we have sales teams across America and Europe, and so we certainly plan on growing geographically as well. But we have a lot of opportunity where we're at today. So I think from a priority perspective, we want to make sure that we're not spread out too thin. From an industry perspective, we've started off historically primarily in a few industries. Industries like manufacturers, distributors, and services companies. So like staffing organizations, distribution companies. Food distribution would be a good example of that. And we've really dominated in those industries because that's what the pricing models were originally built for. But what we're seeing now, and is really exciting, is companies across every industry, almost every industry, coming to us and saying, hey, we need something like this too. Can we apply the intelligence that Zilliant has in Price IQ and Sales IQ and apply it towards high-tech companies? Can we apply it towards life sciences? Can we apply it towards consumer goods? And what we're finding is that the answer to that is mostly yes. And and there's a big need for that. There's a big need for companies, especially in the current environment where you have not only a significant inflation, but also a looming recession. Companies need that control. They need the ability to control both the top line of the revenue line and the top line and the bottom line of their business, depending on the situation. They may need to really be focused on margin, or they may need to really have growth strategies. And we can provide that. And although historically manufacturing, distribution, and service companies have been our sweet spot, we're seeing more and more of our demand coming from other industries.
Excellent. And then one thing I have to ask here, obviously, is also what your role and responsibility is in this whole process now.
Well, you know what? My role is number one is the company cheerleader. I have been here for now 2 months, so 2 months and a couple days. And what I've found in my first 60 days is fascinating. I mean, the product that Zilliant has and has had is amazing. It is robust. It works. And I know that sounds funny, but it's true. It actually works. I was talking to a strategic partner who told me that, when he saw a demo of our product, he tried to throw the demo team off the script to see what's real versus what's not real. And he couldn't do that because it is real. We have a really good product, and our customers have shared very clearly with me directly the value they're getting it. And it's amazing value and amazing outcome and amazing success. And we've got that partnership. And, so really my role is to take what was already built, to take the amazing success that we've created and the amazing team that was already at Zilliant, and just to become their cheerleaders and to help them grow and expand and to expand the markets. I wasn't sure if I came in, if I would have to come in and make a lot of adjustments in terms of the direction, in terms of the product. And again, what I found is that the product is sound. It is strong. It is amazing. And, the focus for us is about scale. How do we take what we've done, for a relatively small number of customers for certain industries, and how do we take it and make it relevant for hundreds and thousands of customers across all their industries? Going back to my comment earlier, Frank, about democratizing it. How do we make it scalable? That is my primary focus, because what I've seen is that every company should have Zilliant as one of their key tools for driving revenue and profitability.
Novo CPQ Consulting helps you with all CPQ related questions. For example, we help customers to find the best CPQ solution for their business, and we help customers analyze their current business process to determine if and where CPQ can help. Here it's important to point out that we are 100% independent and always look out for our customers first. This means for us also that we don't get paid by any CPQ vendor for providing them new customers or for any other services. We are focused on our customers and always provide the best available information to them. We also help system integrators to improve their services, and we offer the only CPQ industry subscription that provides monthly CPQ news and trends. We have many other services, so check it out today at novocpq.com. Send me an email to frank.sohn@novocpq.com to learn how we can help you with your CPQ questions, and keep us in mind when you look for 100% impartial CPQ advice. And how many employees does the Zilliant team have at this time?
We have about 300 or so employees worldwide.
And you're still hiring, I guess, right?
We are hiring. I think in the last quarter alone, we hired more than 30 people. And that I guess included me. I was in the last quarter, so I'm one of the 30. We plan on hiring a lot more. Our beginning of the fiscal year starts January. And as we're working through the budget for next year and the growth plans, we are focused on growth. I know a lot of companies are pulling back right now. A lot of companies are starting to either pull back or maybe even have a reduction as a result of the economy and some of the macroeconomic trends. This is a good opportunity for us because we're in growth mode. So we're taking advantage of those opportunities. And anybody who's listening to this, who's in one of those situations, feel free to reach out, because there are a lot of opportunities for us at Zilliant. We need to be smart about where we hire. We need to be smart about the types of roles we want to hire, and really be focused on growth. And yeah, absolutely, we are hiring. Frank, feel free to send some references to me that you may have.
Absolutely, will do. Now I have a more product-specific question, right? So in preparation for this interview, we also discussed agreement management and quoting, which, by the way, is part of your deal manager product, right? Yes. You mentioned that this is an often overlooked or undermanaged part of a business, and that the margin impact is significant. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and why that's important for your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. Most of our customers today, manufacturing, distribution companies, they need the capabilities not only for pricing and revenue growth, but also to manage those sales agreements, if you will. In addition to that, for example, rebates is a really popular topic. Now, they may be using a CPQ, they may be using a custom CPQ, or they may be using one of the leading CPQs like Salesforce CPQ. But what's in between those two is the agreements management and the rebates, and that's where we partner with CPQ for those situations where we can. But many of our customers don't have a CPQ because they don't even have sellers. They don't have direct sellers like you would normally have. So we've developed basic capabilities to allow them to to manage those sales agreements, customer agreements. What we call a deal manager is a small entry point where they're not really configuring products, they're not doing a full CPQ, but they have to agree on price and build those agreements together with customers. There's a lot of areas like that I would say are near adjacencies to what we do. They're near adjacencies to CPQ. It's kind of like is it a CPQ, not a CPQ? I know it's a hot topic. But I think those are areas where we've heard from customers where they need some more focus there. And I think it's an opportunity that we can easily play. And in some cases, partner. Some partners like Salesforce's manufacturing cloud, for example, they have a sales agreements. In that example, we have some customers where we could partner on that together. But not every customer has that. But I think it is becoming more and more common as a requirement.
Makes sense. Now, one question I think is popping up in the mind of a lot of customers, right, is that Zilliant traditionally partners with a number of solutions. I think about Oracle, SAP, Conga, and Salesforce, as you mentioned, right? So how do you see this going forward?
Well, I mean, we're focused on making sure that we can provide value to our customers. And in order to do that, we need to work with our customers with whatever solutions they have. There's certainly a predominant number of our customers use Salesforce, but not all of them do. And so we're making a very, very deliberate and very focused effort to make sure that we have the ability to expand and build an ISV ecosystem of our own, of companies, strategic software companies like the SAPs, Microsoft, Oracle, obviously Salesforce, as well as smaller independent software vendors like Conga and others, where we can partner together and make sure that we can deliver a holistic solution to our customers. Our goal is to make sure that we're available and that we can become relevant across these industries. And we look forward to partnering with all the vendors that you mentioned.
Excellent. Then one thing I have to say, when I see the reactions from people familiar with the CPQ and pricing landscape is, right? So the first reaction I heard from lots of people was, oh, that might be the first indicator that Salesforce is interested to do more with Zilliant, right? So like for example, acquire them at some point. What do you say to rumors like that?
I don't really think that, entertaining rumors makes much of it, makes a useful conversation, Frank. I came to Zilliant because I think there's an opportunity with Zilliant to grow Zilliant, period. Clearly, just like any other private equity, engagement, there is a planned exit at some point in 5 years or so. My goal is to grow Zilliant as fast and as big and as broad as possible so that we have the best options in 5 years to decide what's next. Do we go to IPO? Do we go through acquisition? Whatever it is. I have no predefined plan. It is really focused on taking the amazing products that have Zilliant, growing our products, expanding our ecosystem, making sure that we can have every customer get the benefit of the Zilliant products. I am not really focused right now on the end state of that right now.
And that makes sense. But one thing I want to make sure that every customer understands who is not on the Salesforce platform, you're still building out the partnerships with SAP, with Microsoft, with Conga and others going forward, right? So and that's part of your integration roadmap anyway.
That's right. And our core products, Sales IQ, Price IQ, most of our core products are built in to the Z cloud. They're not built in the Salesforce. We have connectivities into Salesforce for customers who are using Sales Cloud and Salesforce CPQ to make it work very well. And we'll continue to invest in those. But that doesn't mean that every customer has to use Salesforce. In fact, more often than not, our customers make that decision separately. So our integration to the back office, ERPs is a priority for us. It's SAPs, Oracles, Infors. There's a lot of them. I don't want to, by not naming one, that doesn't mean I'm not including them. It just means there's a lot of them. I think on the front office, we have companies who use custom CPQs or custom CRMs. We have companies who use Conga. We have companies who use Microsoft. We want to be able to integrate with all of them. We do have pre-built integrations with Salesforce that make it easier for them to leverage our product. But again, there's no restriction there that is preventing a company from using Zilliant with whatever front end they have.
Excellent. Thanks for clarifying that. Now, one question I think is what a lot of new CEOs do I see is they going on listening tours with customers, right? And I was wondering if you did something similar and what your first impression is from the discussion with Zilliant's customers.
Yeah, I did. I mean, a tour implies flying around. I didn't do that. I had virtual calls and video calls with several customers. I met a couple customers in person, and I will be having a short tour through Europe in a couple weeks to get some more in-person conversations. And I stated earlier, what's been amazing to me to hear over and over again from the customers is number one, the products are great. They work. The biggest question is more. We want more of it. Of course, that's what every customer wants. That's a good problem to have. Number two is, without any doubt at all, the people. The feedback I've gotten from the customers is they feel like the Zilliant team, the Zilliant product team, engineering team, customer success team, the services team, they feel that those teams are committed. They're there to make sure they're successful. And what's even more important is they treat them like they're part of their team. And that's an amazing accomplishment that I've heard over and over again. And the last thing is just, it's been great to hear the stories about the value. There's a large publicly traded company who spoke about the value on their earnings call, where they gave some accreditation to Zilliant to having an increased win rate in their deals. That's an amazing thing to be able to hear from customers, and hearing that over and over again in many situations where they can articulate clearly Zilliant resulted in revenue growth, Zilliant resulted in improved margins. Being able to tie our product, our capability, our resources to being able to tie that to top line or bottom line numbers is a tremendous opportunity. And it just tells you the value of Zilliant and the mission critical element that Zilliant provides to our customers.
Got it. But one thing I have to ask is also, is that then more or less what you expected, or did you find any surprising things where somebody told you, wow, that's something you didn't expect is very good, we can build on that, we should expand on that? Or on the opposite side also, wow, this is something we should stop? Is there any surprise during these listening sessions so far?
Yeah, you know what? I think the surprise is not really there, except for that, I knew that pricing Zilliant was a leader in, right? But I think the biggest surprise was some of the other products that Zilliant has built. The product team has done an amazing job building products. For example, Sales IQ and Campaign Manager, which are really more focused on revenue operations, revenue intelligence, nothing to do with price. Those are the surprises where I realized, wow, those products have not only made a difference, but they are in many cases what customers value even more so than the price. And you think of the combination of using pricing and revenue to drive both growth and profitability. It's a powerful combination. And so I don't think I valued that part of the Zilliant offering as much until I started talking to customers and seeing it in play. And I realize now that although we started with pricing is only a small part of what we can do now. And that's been the biggest surprise.
And that was the same across regions, right? So there was nothing that stood out in Europe or in North America, Asia so far.
That's right. I mean, we don't really have a focus in Asia. We have a team focus in EMEA and obviously North America. And as we look to expand, certainly Asia is a relevant area. The main feedback, because everybody could do better, is just scaling it. The feedback from our customers is everything's great. I wish we could get there faster. Let's get it done faster. Let's do more of it. It's a good problem to have. It's a problem I'm happy to help solve. Be a lot different problem if it was the opposite. So, I think scaling Zilliant in terms of our ability to deliver more and deliver it faster. Scaling through our partner ecosystem, our systems integrators is going to be a really critical part of it, especially when you talk about the global reach, Frank, as you mentioned.
Very good and very exciting discussion. Unfortunately, we're already coming to the end of this episode. Hence, my last question is for you. What's a good way for interested listeners to get a hold of you or your team in case they have any follow-up questions?
That's great. And we'll make sure we can share it otherwise, but certainly on LinkedIn, anybody can reach out to me. Also, feel free to reach out to me directly at Zilliant. You can email me at pyammine at Zilliant, Pyamine at Zilliant. You can also email CEO at Zilliant.com.
Perfect. Pascal, thank you very much. And I definitely wish you and the team all the best and look forward to following up here in 12 to 18 months to see where Zilliant stands. Thank you very much for making time for the CPQ podcast today.
Thank you, Frank, as always.
I'd like to thank everyone for listening and hope you learned something interesting today. If you like the podcast, please go ahead and rate it on iTunes or share it with your friends and colleagues. In the meantime, you can find us online at www.novoscpq.com. So long, everyone.